Welcome to part 2 of Wellness Through Filmmaking and Creativity. Make sure to watch part 1 before watching this.
But I'm very curious. Whenever you shared that you earlier with me that you have struggled with a lot of mental health in the past.
Yeah.
So how do you utilize the writing process alongside the filming process to help you through those dark times?
Yeah.
Yeah, or how could it have caused some of those dark times too?
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
If
absolutely.
it's a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like how do you
for
work
sure.
through it in general?
Yeah, I'll talk about the bad first and then the good. I know you like to do that because
Yeah.
end on a positive note.
Yep.
But yeah, one of the things that is negative about the filmmaking process that you're saying can kind of put you in those dark times is something I already kind of touched on, but it's the unfulfilling aspect of being on a larger set where you want to be creative but you just can't. You know, that it can really be it's put me in dark places in the past, and in the 5 years that I was in Atlanta, I wrote things, I starred in short films, I worked on short films, I wrote short, that felt more fulfilling. That was definitely more where I wanted to be at.
Yeah.
And I'll say too, like the writing aspect that you asked, the positive, I can get out certain things. Like I have it's one of those like way down the line period piece things that I've worked on that is about my relationship with my brother and I, and how that relates to our parents. And I've kind of changed it into a much older story. And it's so therapeutic to work on because it's almost like a therapy session. I kind of just go in and write about certain scenarios, but then I'll change them to be something that can be filmed, and that could be like a good scene, or that can really pan out over 60, 90 minutes, however long. So that's probably my favorite part of it, and I haven't done many feature length like scripts. I have like a few that I'm really still, every once in a while I'll go back and work on, but it's mainly the same like short film. I just feel like with the budgets that I'm working with, I think that you kind of need to, just how you need to live within your means, you got to shoot within your means when it comes to these films.
What do you typically shoot with when you're shooting these films?
So it depends. I've used like black magic, cameras. Like some of the school ones we had a red. So we've shot on those. I've done my iPhone before. So it's just depending on budget, depending on availability, and my.
What are you shooting your short film on right now?
So the
one you're like you're.
I'm actually not in the camera department for that one. I'm more just like production for that one.
Okay.
But
Cool.
I believe they're renting an Ari for it.
Oh,
So,
okay.
I mean,
So you guys are going kind of more all out for that one.
This one, it has a budget. The guys that I work with, the Gill brothers, shout out to the Gill brothers. They're these two, guys that I went to school with, over at Broward, and they're incredibly talented. They've done a bunch of short films so far, and they've really shown what you can do with a limited budget. And so now that they're gonna try and we're gonna try and do this one now with a much larger budget. I think it's gonna pan out and really just express how they can, what they can do with the money. Because I mean, that's I think a big barrier for filmmaking.
100%. That's why I asked, because
budget, yeah.
is like you said, that's the biggest barrier. And like we run into things with the podcast, and like why we're limited to certain things is money and different things, and camera and lenses. So like I know it's like that, because an Ari is what renting. Well, you're going to be renting it, but that's a
20,000.
Yeah.
Depending on all the attachments
to rent
and
it.
accessories.
That's the rent, no? To buy it is
well, there's different, Ari's.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
But the ones I've seen, I've gone on. I'm a Facebook Marketplace, guru at this point.
No,
Whatever
you're
you can
100%.
find,
You're 100% true. But that's movie
But-
standard,
Yeah,
But
you're
that
right,
goes to
for
show the power of creativity, right?
Exactly.
Like I think of there was a horror film a couple years back called Unsane. I think it was called not Insane, Unsane, and it was completely shot in iPhone cameras.
Right.
Shot in iPhone cameras in a mental health hospital.
It was on like Netflix or something?
It went to the movie theater.
Really?
I saw
On
it
iPhones?
on iPhones.
I've never heard of that. That sounds
look
crazy.
it
I
up.
gotta watch
Yeah.
that.
It is a fantastic movie. I'm pretty sure I talked about it in the podcast a couple episodes ago. I think it was for during our mental health month. I forgot which episode.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is that it was one of the reason it drew me is because they shot it in iPhone cameras.
Right.
And when you see the movie, it looks amazing.
Yeah.
Like it's truly impressive.
I think with those they tend to use like a few extra gadgets on it, but it's still like they use the hull of, you know.
Oh,
the base.
okay, yeah. Like they
they
use
might
the
include
iPhone with
either way.
certain like, because there are apps where you can unlock
I've
more
seen-
features
yeah.
to your phone. You
I-
pay
I
like
have a
$100
few of
bucks.
those.
Yeah,
Well, not 100.
I had like a
That's
$50 one, and it
Yeah.
unlocked a lot of
Yeah.
stuff. Like you can lower their aperture and a lot of different.
Right.
I think you can do it now on your phone in general.
Yeah.
But before you could lower your aperture, your shutter speed, all this stuff, or you
Yeah.
couldn't do on your phone.
But what
in
you can do
general.
with iPhones now is incredible.
Oh yeah,
Or-
now
yeah.
you can make a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I know Netflix has approved the FX3 for their movies now. So like a lot of Netflix movies are made with Sony FX3. So like not that camera, but pretty much the
Very
equivalent to
similar
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
insane. You know, it's a $4,000 camera and they're making $1 million productions.
exactly, yeah.
And that's the point that I'm trying to make,
Yeah.
and that's kind of what I want to instill in the audience that's watching this is, you know, creativity is a beautiful place to be in because it allows you to find different ways to do something, right?
Yeah.
Every problem has multiple solutions to it, no
Yeah.
matter what it says. I think the same goes to filming. Like I have a good buddy of mine, Jerry, shout out, in California, who he makes his little short films and stuff,
Right.
and he does it in iPhone.
Yeah.
I remember when
you can't limit yourself to the equipment you have. You really
Yeah,
can't
like,
because it's not going to
yeah.
get you anywhere in life.
And at some point, yeah, maybe you do need that.
you need to
equipment.
upgrade and you need to
Absolutely.
invest for sure.
But and this is something that I feel very I don't want to say guilty, but like I feel that it speaks to me too as to why I haven't taken those steps to achieve that dream, because really there's nothing stopping you. Like a lot of the times we stop ourselves because we're like, oh, we don't have the equipment, or we don't know what to do. Or a lot of the times, at least in my life, I've had to learn just do.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because
See
a lot of
what
times we will get that
happens.
equipment and we still won't do it.
Exactly.
Because of the initial thing is we
Yeah.
never got that start.
Right.
You know,
Agreed.
and that's the most
You
important
know?
thing is the motivation, the desire to actually want to create and want to do. And you're not going to get that from having better equipment. You're going to get
Yeah,
that from going
absolutely.
outside and getting
And
better at
doing it,
creating.
yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
what that's the biggest misconception with creating and making film and making anything in
Videos on
general.
YouTube,
is-
TikToks.
yeah, people think it's like super quick and instant gratification. And it's like, no, man, sometimes you got to start with the first thing you have. Like I said, I started with a GoPro, bro, like a GoPro 3, just filming regular crap. And that was awesome to me at the time. You
And
know
that it's not always going to be great. And it's not always going to
Exactly.
be. And maybe I don't mean it. Well, that yes, but more also, it's not going to be
Yeah.
a lot of views on it. It's not
Yeah.
going to be a lot.
You should
of
strive to
attention
be
it.
great, but never hang yourself up on it.
Like I'll never forget
Yeah.
this. Back during COVID, when I was active on TikTok trying to make content, I'll never forget. I made a video on YouTube where I was reacting to horror content, and I posted on TikTok a little snippet of it, and it got thousands upon thousands of likes. I'm like, great. I'm gonna ride this ship as long as I can. Then a few months later, I made a little video, and I remember when I made that first video.
What's your problem right there? You waited months to post again.
I know. Well, no, I posted along the way,
okay.
of course. But I made the video. It was very easy for me, and I was like, okay, great. But a couple months later, I wanted to do something different, so I made a little skit, where I'm like making fun of the fact, you know, in horror movies, that trope where the person is like stuck in the elevator and there's like things going on.
Yeah.
So I put the perspective of the guy pushing the button, waiting for the elevator. So I made a little skit, and I remember I put a lot of work into it. It took me like a good hour or two to edit and like film.
No
it.
love.
Bro.
Yeah.
100 views,
Yeah.
like
Bro,
30
especially on
likes.
TikTok, they don't give a damn how much work.
I was so
TikTok
hurt.
rewards you for less work.
like
Be like just funny and relatable, or
And that's all you need.
don't put in work.
millions of views, and like I spent so much time making this, right? But then I quickly had to learn and be like, but why did I make it in the first place? Was it to get views? Because
Right.
I thought it was funny.
Right.
Yeah.
It was because I thought it was funny, and I thought
Yeah.
it's a really dumb horror movie trope.
Yeah.
So I made it, you know, like yesterday, like not 2 days ago, I made a TikTok. It was me driving in my car, and I'm like, before watching Long Legs, and I'm like really happy, really smiling, and then after watching the movie Long Legs, and me serious looking at the road, right? It didn't get a lot of love, but that's okay because like it's for me,
Yeah,
it's
for
funny,
fun, yeah.
right? And the people that did see it, they gave it love, and it's great,
Yeah.
you know. So a lot of times we base ourselves off of success instead
Yeah.
of basing ourselves off of doing something that we love.
Yeah.
You know, and I want to hear your perspective on this too.
Yeah, sure.
How do you for those in the audience who might be interested in getting involved in making content or shooting film or writing or whatever, grabbing a camera and recording, talking for a minute. How do you specifically battle that idea of making content for you versus making content to make money?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, truthfully, I've never made content for money. I don't know if it's just because it's never come to me. I mean, I've done like gigs and stuff where it's like commercial gigs, but yeah, it's always usually for the love of it, you know. And I was just gonna mention that sometimes we think that hard work equals views and fame and money, but it's like it doesn't. You know, it's like you were saying, what tends to be relatable or what tends to be, you know, the thing right then.
Yeah.
For example, I don't know if you guys remember the Grimace trend that was going around.
Yeah, I
the
remember the
McDonald's.
Grimace trend.
Yeah.
I did one of those with my friend as we were like moving out of our house. So we did a whole thing. Like I'll show you it later. I was very proud of it because we actually like spent time. We were doing video effects on it, like, you know, and we posted it just hoping, you know, it would follow the trend. And, you know, we also made it just for fun. Yeah. And it didn't. It flopped. But it was it was weirdly enough one of the most proud I've ever been of. There you go. And that's all that mattered. You know, we just had fun doing it. It was kind of like our last hurrah. We were moving out as roommates. We were like, let's make this one final thing.
There's been so many times where I posted content, obviously for the sake of views, and then like it doesn't go well, and you're like, oh man. But then like I go back to my page so many times, I'm like, dude, I love this video that I made, and like I'll just keep going through them, like,
oh, that was
it's
really
so cool,
funny.
like,
Absolutely.
and then it also shows your evolution as a creator, and it shows how
Absolutely.
much better you've gotten, and that's nobody could take that away from you, and
No.
that's one thing that because I'm a big critic on myself, I'm very big a perfectionist for sure, so I don't like posting, and when I do, I'll take it away after 3 minutes if it gets no like. I've been there for sure, but now I'm just at the point where like, who cares, you know?
I was back in 2020. I was when that video popped off. This is how much I wanted like the views and the fame. I created a whole persona. Like I used to do fresh out of the movie reviews back then, and I called myself Fresh. And I literally every time I would post, hey, what's up, guys? Your boy Fresh here. What's up, Fresh Army? Like trying to like come
There's
up.
so many Freshes too. Like
I know, like
I know so many like Freshes on YouTube
there
and
you
stuff.
go.
It's funny.
Like trying to create any content that I can to get famous.
I seeing you as Fresh.
Well, there you go. I know it's dumb. I don't like it now. Now thinking back on it, it's dumb. But I quickly learned after that fact is like I was forcing it. So I was like, let me just make content because it makes me feel good. Because like I'm going through a lot. You know, we're in the middle of pandemic. Like things aren't great at home. Let me just do something because I enjoy it. And sure enough, that's what I did. And the rest is history. Like
bro, I love your movie reviews. I ain't gonna lie. Whenever I see your little things on Instagram, I'll be watching them. I'm like, let's go.
Yeah, bro.
So like there are people that like you may not think like they give a damn at all about what you're doing, but there's people that are like low key like, yo,
and that's
I can't wait.
And that comes back to, are you making it because you want to be famous, or are you making it out of love?
Yeah.
Because if you're making it out of love, people will see it. And it might not be a lot of people at first, but people will see it. So I always tell people, if you're passionate about something, do it out of love. Don't do it out of fame, because people will notice and they will connect to that.
Yeah.
And it might take a while. Like I've seen, I love this movie review on YouTube, Jeremy Johns. Like when he started, he had like no views. And he's been doing this now for almost 10 years. And now is when he's getting like a lot of views.
Takes time, dude.
It takes time. It takes dedication. That's why you got to do it out of love. And if you're going to use it as a wellness tool specifically, do it out of love, because that's what's going to lead it to be a wellness tool. Because if it's all about fame and all about like, you're going to be met with a lot of disappointment. It's going to turn into the opposite of a wellness tool.
Yeah. I mean, intentions are everything in life. You know, if you go into things with the wrong intentions, you're usually not going to be rewarded. Yeah. And so if you go into things, you know, intended to do the right things and intended to have the right feelings about them and perspectives, then usually you're going to be rewarded, you know, because if you go in with the mentality of, you know, I'm not going to be worried about views, I'm not going to be worried about money, I'm not going to, and it doesn't hit you, it doesn't happen, then guess what? You just make another video, you work harder, you do it again. But if it does and it bothers you, you know, you lose that motivation, you lose that desire to make and create, and sometimes you don't create anymore, and what happens? You become a worse creator or not a creator anymore, you know? So it's better to be not getting views sometimes because it actually teaches you to grow. Some people that get the views right away, they don't think they need to change, or they don't think they need to make any more efforts, you know?
For sure.
So that's one thing I was saying to Chloe last week is like, because she is killing it, make sure to continue. Because a lot of people, they'll be on that wave and they won't take advantage of it.
Oh yeah.
They'll be like, oh, I'm good. Like, I'll just stay like this. Instead of like if you're growing, make that effort to grow yourself and you'll just grow even more, you know?
There are
Don't
people
change.
There are people that didn't capitalize on like back in the day on Vine and stuff. Or,
Exactly.
You know, it's unfortunate because they have
And then look at the people that do.
thousands.
Look at the people like Logan Paul and stuff like that
they're
that
still
were on
relevant.
Vine. That's where they started, bro.
Yeah, they're still
Look at them now.
relevant.
They're billionaires.
Yeah, I think that's the thing too that kind of falls back into the doing it for the love. It can be validating in some ways, to just make it on your own. And then we did a film festival, 48-hour film festival, which is super fun.
Cool.
You get the idea of the film, you write it, shoot it, edit it, all within 48 hours, and then they pick winners and everything. And we won for a few categories, and we were so proud. But like the validation of writing a joke and then seeing somebody laugh at it.
Oh yeah.
100%.
In like live. It was a room full of like 100 something people. It was like a full theater, and people were laughing at the jokes that we wrote and like some of the things that we came up with, and that's a great feeling.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is.
For sure. And like you're saying, as my evolution as a creator, like I said, I had the first Sweet 16 and I sucked.
Yeah.
And then you come on later, and now I'm doing projects with different cars and different stuff and art exhibits, and and you get feedback back now, and you're like,
reactions,
I love it, and it's like so much. It's so cool to see that, and it's not for the sake of like being like egotistical or anything.
Right.
It's more of like that gratification of seeing how far you come from your journey. Like I used to really suck, but I had the desire to be better, and now I am.
You did it.
You
Now you
know,
are.
and it's not to say that I am where I want to be yet,
Right.
But it's to say that I'm always on that step to grow.
But that's the beautiful thing
100%.
about creativity.
Exactly.
Is that even if you're not where you are, you can be proud of what you've achieved.
Yeah,
You know?
because that's not like math. It's not like once you know how to do 2 + 2, you know it. You can know how to like do a speed ramp in an edit, but you might not know how to do it this way or perfectly this way, or it changes with every single bit of content you make, and that's or color grading, bro. Every time you color grade, any type of content, it's different. Because do you want to match the colors of what it's actually looking like? Do you want to have a creative look to it? Do you want it to be cold? Do you want it to be warm? Do you want to have cyan?
The Wes Anderson style.
Yeah, exactly. So there's so many styles you want to go
literally
to.
just thinking
And that's
of the
what
Wes
goes into
Anderson.
movies too. Like that's a big thing with movies that people don't realize. Like what if we took Game of Thrones and gave it a Barbie color look?
It would change everything.
Color grading.
It would change
Yeah,
everything.
so like there's so many things that go into movies and films that change the whole thing. Sound design, color grading, different a trailer could make the movie different, and it's just it's so cool. And I think that's what draws me to like.
I personally,
film.
I know that you said your friend makes like trailers and stuff, and I think that's so cool. I love a good trailer.
Absolutely.
But if I really want to see a movie, I don't watch a trailer.
Really?
I don't watch any trailers. I think it's just
I could definitely see
They're
that.
gonna give me too much. Sometimes like I don't even like with the new House of the Dragon that's coming out. I don't even watch in the next episode, at the end of the episode.
And I
it's
hear
like,
you on that.
Yeah, sometimes.
But I also think that's what makes a good trailer.
Of course. Well,
Something
absolutely.
that could get you super enticed to watch the film
True.
without giving you anything
For sure.
of
There
it.
are some films that
But I will say a
wasn't
lot of
excited
new
about.
films don't do that very well.
True.
Old school films were very good at that. They'd give you like one scene, give you a
Like a
kind
teaser.
of
It was
context,
a teaser, yeah.
and then end it.
yeah,
Goosebumps is good at that. Goosebumps used
Yeah,
to do
you're
that all the
right.
time.
You're
I
right.
used to love that show. Now I think about
Yeah,
it.
one of the worst examples of that, way back when Batman versus Superman. I'll never forget. So if you're a fan of, obviously the people, the majority of people who are going to come watch this movie are fans of the characters, and they probably know a little bit of the story. So sure enough, I'm looking at the trailer, and then they bring out the one character that's famous for killing Superman, and I'm like, so Superman dies in this one, right? That's probably what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And sure enough, they kill him off in the movie. And I'm like, yeah, I knew this because you
Right.
guys put it in the trailer.
Yeah.
Like the only character who's famous for killing Superman
there's those
is
trailers,
here.
Like, trust me, because I've seen that. Because I actually, It's funny because I agree so much what we were saying about trailers and movies because I usually don't do that for movies I like.
Yeah.
But I actually really do enjoy watching trailers.
Oh, for
Almost
sure.
like music videos.
Yeah, I watch the trailers.
It's like a music video for me.
It's almost like, you know, like how a TikTok edit kind of
Exactly.
really, like you were saying
it's
earlier
like a
with
quick
your friend,
compilation somewhat of
gets
it.
you enticed. It gets
Exactly.
you excited.
And I like to see, because a movie, I'm not going to make a movie. Like as a creator, I'm probably not going to ever make a movie. But a trailer is more aligned with the kind of content I make. Very quick, very more fast paced, or like summarizing kind of content.
Right.
And so it resonates a little bit more with me. So I like how people could make it very like fast paced or like somber or whatever in like 2 minutes and show a whole 3-hour movie. Like, how do you get the Lord of the Rings trilogy and like make trailers for it? It's so crazy
in
to
a
me.
3-minute trailer.
Yeah, it's like, bro, like I'm like even the Gala videos, I have like testimonies and I'll have 5-minute, 9-minute testimonies and for 10 different people, and I have to compose that to 3 or 4 minutes.
Right.
And that's hard, but it's more like
But once you do it, it's so fulfilling.
it's super hard, super fulfilling. But movies are way harder for me because it's just like that's all creative content that you're adding out. Like me, I'm cutting out ums and ahs and stuff like that, and things that just don't add context to what they're saying. They're cutting out creative things. It's just it's so crazy.
I think a lot like how the entire film has its act one, turning point, right? You know, the climax. Each scene has that too. So that like, you know, when I've like, you know, we've in editing classes and stuff, they've made us do trailers or I know that what did we talk about earlier? It's basically like a trailer, but like cutting all the important parts. It could even be like someone turning and looking can be like the pinnacle of a scene. So you know, sometimes it can be like,
you know what it's kind of like.
things.
I think I said this last week, or I said it. It's like when you're you ever like write out a text message and you're like, damn, that's long.
Yeah.
And then you're like, let me revise this.
Cut
and
the
then you
fat.
cut out all the fat, and you're like, it's like 6 words now.
Yeah.
And it's like you just spoke it way easier than you trying to sound like professional and super sophisticated and all that. It's the same thing with movies and trailers and different things like that, or editing in general. As you're cutting out all the fat, you want to get rid of all the crap that people, they could watch. Yeah, it could be fluff. Yeah, it could be seen, but doesn't need to be.
There are some directors that I really admire. I know we talked a little bit about a few of them, but like one of the ones that I'm getting more into now is Andrei Tarkovsky.
Okay.
One of my one of my favorites right now is Stalker, just because he's someone that lingers on things, and it'll be a 5-minute scene, you know, of them transporting themselves to one spot to the other. But you know, sometimes you're like, all right, like this could have been a 30-second shot. But then you understand as you're watching it, like, oh, maybe it didn't, you know, it could have been long. It could have been.
And that's the importance of a director, is being able to identify the important times to have a scene that's prolonged. It's like I've seen I've noticed that I'm trying to think of a movie right now. I can't think of the name of the movie, but it was a hospital scene, and it was like pretty kind of fast paced in general, the movie. And then it was like a similar scene where it was, the guy was, you know, he was being taken into like the emergency part of the room. And it was like, it could have been a quick part. They could have just showed him kind of get there. They showed the whole scene.
Was that from like above too? Like on the gurney or something?
Yeah.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, they showed the whole scene, very intimately pushed, the whole sound effects, the whole way. It was like a 2-minute thing, like literally the whole way of like a hospital where it would be long.
Yeah.
But in movies, they make it quick. Like they're going through doors and they're there.
Yeah.
But it made that way more of a surreal. It made you feel like, and you're feeling the heartbeat. You're hearing the heartbeat. You're hearing all the like the sounds of like the guy dying. So it makes you feel way more in there. And that's like sound design to a T right there. That shows how
sound design,
how
cinematography,
good
the performance,
man.
it's all encompassed in one.
Cinematography too, getting those angles to make you feel like it's so crazy. Like there's only a couple topics I could talk about where I talk about and I smile because it's like it's so cool to me. And it's like soccer. I love soccer. Video games and movies, music. Like I talk about them and I'm just like, I don't understand how people could be so creative, how they can be so amazing. Like, do you ever find yourself thinking that way? Like, because I feel like I'm creative, but I see some directors and you're like, bro, how?
It it's inspiring to say the least. I mean, but then again, it can be like a little daunting to be like, wow, like this person is so creative.
Because essentially we're all competing, right?
Or this person's really weird.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because it happens the other way too.
I mean, look at Stephen King.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
One of the biggest weirdos of all time, but he's the biggest creator, probably the most well-known creator, right?
Yeah.
Movies,
at least for
books.
horror, yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it, for example, Tim Burton. I love Tim Burton movies, but they all have a very weird style.
Very dark,
you know, very dark, very goofy.
Very pale.
It's like
dark and goofy, yep.
Dark and goofy, right? And then you got Wes Anderson, which is all looks like a stage play, like every single one of his films, right? Which I think is also
and then you
weird.
have like Christopher Nolan's, who have
like
everything
all dark and
blue.
So everything is so confusing.
Everything is confusing,
and it just shows
right?
you everybody's style is very it's specific to itself, you know, and and I'm sure they can do all types of different styles, but it's just they found what works for them.
I think that's the fun part about it is kind of, you know, when you do find that thing or that you're good at, people know what they're going to see. You know, when you're going to a Christopher Nolan movie, you're going to be a little bit confused, but you're also going to get but it's going to be great.
Or the Marvel guys.
The Russo brothers.
Just like that.
Yeah.
The fact that they've just got reinstated, what does that tell you about the next movie? That everybody's going to be excited. It's going to probably be great, right?
Oh, I can't
So
wait.
it just shows you like how a creator can have so much impact on like a movie or something like that. It's wild because there are so many moving pieces in that movie and so many people that could have made it better, really. But those two people are what made the movie so much different and why people are complaining.
Oh,
so
I love when people talk about possible like recastings. Like that's one of my favorite things, like to like ponder over in film is like.
Do you like recastings or do you like original castings?
Well, I'm more saying like, you know, looking back on a film and being like, oh, who could have played that role? You know, like it's almost like a fan recast.
And I have a perfect question for that.
Yeah,
so let's say Game of Thrones.
Oh, for sure.
How do you feel about the whole recasting and like them kind of going from Game of Thrones characters to a whole different set of characters with the Dragons show?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, well, that one, so I love a prequel. I love a prequel that sets the stage. I think it's such a different vibe than a sequel because a sequel always tends to invalidate.
Yeah, it takes away a lot from the first.
Like one of the things I always bring up is I love the prequels in Star Wars. I know this is going to bring up a whole, you know, but I'll just say it quickly that the sequel tends to invalidate it because, you know, they blow up like 5 planets in the sequel, but in the original they only blow up the one and it's a huge deal.
It's a huge moment.
It's a huge deal, but they're like, we got to go bigger than that. That's why I love a prequel because it's kind of already you know it's already set. Like you kind of know like, oh, I know this guy's not gonna die. I know this guy's gonna.
It's like it gives more of a concise. This is the story, and we're gonna follow this story.
Yeah.
Versus sequels, like you said. It could be like, that happened, but this time we're going to do this.
Yeah, and
it
has
it's
to
not
be
following
bigger.
the story at all.
No, but, you know, like you're saying, too, with the newer, like, Game of Thrones and House of Dragon, you know, I love it. I think it's really cool how they make some comparisons, too, to, like, you know, and they kind of have to follow what they've casted before, you know, with certain houses and certain families.
Yeah, and even in the first House of Dragon, they went from a different cast in that show. Yeah, they went from young people, and then a completely different cast.
No, I think
they
did it
never
beautifully.
seen that in a show ever.
They did it beautifully, and I was really impressed. I used to, you know, I watched every episode maybe twice, like just one after another. You know, I know that we've talked to, or you guys.
Can you imagine
that
though?
Yeah.
Can you imagine any other show taking pretty much the whole entire cast, removing them, and next episode starting with a different cast?
I think that like that
bro, it's insane how they do that.
Last year,
Monarch,
it's so Monarch did that.
Keep people interested.
Yeah. Last year, a show called Monarch is in the Godzilla universe.
Oh, okay, cool.
What they would do is every episode. So the first episode is in the past, and then the next episode in the present, and then the next episode in the past, and it would go back and forth until the end of the show. I thought that was so creative, such a creative way.
Does it have like the same consistent?
Well, yeah, because what they're, if my memory serves me right, it's basically the exact same thing happening 30 years apart.
I love that.
And it's such a very interesting way to tell the story.
Because the only other show I've seen like different was like maybe like Black Mirror or something, but it's obviously different stories.
That's
a great show too. Obviously.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you like Black Mirror? I don't think we've ever mentioned that.
I like Black Mirror. I think I'm a big sci-fi.
Those are
person.
crazy.
Sci-fi horror stuff. I'm all in. But we're running a long time, so
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just want to ask you this last question as we start closing.
We're
out.
having too much fun.
I know it's a lot of fun.
We'll have to do a part 3.
Yeah, we'll do a part 3 at some point. But I'm very curious to hear your perspective. I asked you about your favorite movie, but now I have to ask you, what's your least favorite movie of all time?
That's a great question because I tend to not watch.
What lingers on your
films.
heart?
Yeah, they're like I don't tend to watch films that I know I'm not gonna like. Like
Same.
that's kind of part of my wellness tool with
Yeah.
movies is I know going into it that I'm gonna enjoy it. So truthfully, like
Some people like trash films too.
That's true.
Like
No,
people
for
love
sure.
that.
I think-
it's a genre of people that are like,
yeah.
I'm gonna go watch Sharknado.
Oh,
you know,
for sure.
like that's their thing.
But Sharknado's good. Stop.
Hey, that's I ain't
Sharknado's
gonna lie,
great.
Sharknado's
It's
a
great.
banger, but they have way too many of them.
It's
If
stupid,
they made,
yeah,
If
but
they
it's
made
great.
one original satire crazy movie that was funny, okay.
Yeah,
They made like 9 of them.
Well, I feel that way
They
about
did.
I truthfully feel that way about the John Wick films. I love them. I think
Oh
they're
my
they're
God.
they're professionally done. Like they look great. But you're in the movie theater and he'll shoot like 60 guys.
I ain't gonna lie. I've
Everybody
said that's
starts
one
to
of the
laugh.
most overrated movies.
Everybody starts to laugh. I think that if you know going into it what you're getting, so like that's kind of goes into the question though. Like it's kind of a cliche answer, but I love The Room by Tommy Wiseau.
I had a feeling
Dude.
you were gonna say that
I
one.
love to hate it. I watch it knowing it's like watching a car crash. It's one of those things.
Yeah.
it's such a typical answer because it's such a it's bad. I mean,
I
trying
did
to
not
think-
hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
oh hi Mark. And I think I mentioned too the other day I watched, and I think recently, like to give an example of a film I didn't like was Mulholland Drive.
Oh, yeah,
That's
I remember you told me about
critically
that.
acclaimed. People love it. David Lynch. Like I haven't seen many more of his films. Oh my God, did it feel like a Tommy Wiseau directed? Like the dialogue was just terrible. So I just
That's a lot about those critically acclaimed movies sometimes.
Yeah.
They're just like,
everybody likes them, but they kind of pretend to sometimes.
yeah,
I don't
everybody
know.
likes them.
I'll say it. I'll say it.
critics.
I don't care if I get controversy. I don't like The Godfather.
Oh,
Really?
I've
Oh, that's
tried
wild.
multiple
I could
times
s-
to watch it.
Maybe
and every
to
time
say it's
like,
overrated, I could see.
right.
But to say you don't like it at all, that's
I
kind of
don't
wild.
like
I think
and
that-
I've tried multiple times to watch it because I'm thinking maybe I was too young,
yeah.
and then I watched it a couple years later.
It is an old movie, super
It is.
old. Was it in the
Well,
70s?
I can't do it, man.
Yeah. So I'll
77 or
say this
something?
about. I mean, if it's part 3, I understand because that film was not good. But the first 2, I think, from a technical point of view, I really enjoyed. So like coming from, we watched them in film school. Maybe
To be fair, I haven't seen the second one.
the second one's pretty good.
Haven't seen The
It's-
Godfather
The
Part
first one's the best.
It's a prequel. The second one's a prequel.
That's what I know. I
Yeah.
know it's a prequel, and I know Al Pacino's in it.
There's a prequel.
Is
but
it Al
they-
Pacino?
Yeah, and they cut back and forth. Al Pacino's in all of them as Michael Corleone, but
Oh,
I think you're saying
Marlon Brando.
Marlon Brando is the Vito, Don Vito.
Don
He's the
Vito.
Don. I'm thinking
Yeah.
of
I don't
what's his name? He's the other guy. Casino. He was in. Robert De Niro he plays a young Don Vito.
Oh,
This
okay.
was like his. I don't know if it's an introduction into like the mob movies, but yeah, I get it. I mean, I understand.
I gotta rewatch it.
they're
To be
long.
fair,
It's not one of
They're
the
long.
better. It's not the best.
just
There's
haven't-
Goodfellas is I think
tried,
better.
and it's like, ugh. But for me, I discovered my least favorite movie this year. Actually,
Okay.
I had I'm a little bit opposite of what you were saying. I watched the bad movies because I'm one of those people. So I'm very
Me too.
I'm a very big movie nerd. And what that means is that I keep track of the movies that I watch. And at the end of the year, I make a list of like my favorite ones and I share it with my friends and family and whatever on my Instagram. So I watch the bad ones so I can fill the list of the
Yeah.
worst movies of the year.
You can't say what's good if you don't know what's bad.
Exactly.
true.
Like I don't like
true.
people telling me, "Oh, it's a horrible movie. I'm not going to watch it." I'm like, "No, let me get my own opinion." You know, and half of the time I like them, half of the time I don't.
Yeah.
Depends. Sure enough, I look up what are the worst horror movies of the year so far. This one shows up, and I'm like, okay, let me give it a try. I rented it because I couldn't find it anywhere. I was like, I'm so
Spent
mad.
money on it.
Rent is crazy.
I so mad.
I haven't rented a movie in
I rented it
10
and
years.
I watched it, and I literally throughout the entire movie I was so angry.
Yeah.
And every single scene. It's
That's how I
a
feel,
dumb
yeah.
movie. It's about a whole bunch of models that rent an Airbnb near the place where they're shooting pictures, and then these people come in there to try to like. They're not trying to rob them. They're like trying to steal their Instagram accounts to go live on their Instagram account so they can ask people to donate to this fake account. I know it's dumb. and every joke, every scene, every moment, everything about it is just the worst.
Some studio exec was like, "This is gonna be big.
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna love this."
Oh, IG girls are gonna love it.
On my
So relatable.
on my letterbox is the only film ever that I've given 0 stars.
I didn't even know you could. I thought you had to give
I
at
just
least
don't.
a half.
No, I tell you, you just
Oh,
don't
you
rate.
Just don't. Oh well, yeah.
You just don't rate.
Yeah,
I
sure,
refuse.
Right.
I refuse to give it
refuse
any
to rate
point.
this thing.
Half a star. You're crazy, bro. That
Yeah.
movie was
Hey,
not
Chris,
worth.
I don't think you've rated this movie. Not gonna.
No.
Yeah.
I rated it. I promise you, I rated it.
I
That
left
is
it.
the rating. No, man, I hated it.
I think just to quickly, just to say too, we talked about it earlier, like the book sort of remakes, how that can. I dislike films that take so much away, like we were saying, and kind of try and make it their own. And like, it's such a different story. Like for a small example, I love The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander. I think it's Dumas, and the movie itself is it's not an adaptation. It is a separate.
Who did the movie? Someone else.
Yeah. It was.
Yeah,
well,
yeah, someone else, yeah.
Well, like I don't even remember who the actual director was, but it was the guy that plays Jim Cavetti, or he plays. He did like The Sound of Freedom not too long ago.
Oh yeah, I think that's his name. I think Jim Cavelli or something.
Yeah, and it was like my least favorite thing I've ever seen. Like just personally. And
There you go.
But people like it because they haven't read the book and they just see it as a standalone. But those are the ones that I dislike the most.
Yeah, a lot of people feel the same way about the Harry Potter films. Like
True.
they're like, no, the movies are nothing compared to the books, right?
Yeah.
What about you?
Oh yeah, that's
What's
true.
your least favorite movie?
I
ever?
don't know.
A movie that you saw and you're like, this is garbage. I don't ever want to sit down and watch this movie ever again. It's complete trash.
Dear John.
Really?
I hated it.
Dear John.
But I don't like movies like that. To be fair,
rom-coms.
that's not a rom com at all, bro.
Dear John?
That
Dear
is.
John is
Where
a
was the comedy in there?
Well, it's kind of like
Well,
a
that's what I'm saying. That's where
That was like
that's
a
more-
rom.
it's a drum
cry.
rom cry.
a drum.
I honestly,
drama,
I love.
drama.
I honestly think I love romantic comedy. It's probably my favorite genre. Straight
Really?
up.
Yeah, I like
Yeah,
those.
like
Hey, there you go.
one of my favorite genres, like the Friends with Benefits kind of movies, like
Yeah.
anything like that, or even less sappy. 40-Year-Old Virgin, like that's my favorite. I think that's my favorite genre. No, no BS. Other than maybe like Lord of the Rings genre, like
Fantasy?
fantasy, sci-fi.
Hey, fantasy sci-fi is great.
Yeah, I like that, and like the old kind of like Viking day.
Oh yeah, the North.
Like yeah,
I
like
was
kind of
gonna
how
say,
Game of
love
Thrones
the
is.
Northmen.
Kind of how Game of Thrones is too.
Yeah.
Like I love that
You
style.
should
That's why Lord of the Rings I like
You
too.
should check out The Northman.
You'd love
Okay.
it. Oh,
It's
you'd
with
love it.
Chris Hemsworth's brother, I think.
I think
no,
I've
no, it
seen
was,
stuff about it
Skarsgård.
all the time.
Skarsgård, you're right.
That I think I've always seen stuff about it, and I've always wanted to try it. I've just never
Came out like
started
2
it.
years
And
ago.
Vikings. I've always
I
wanted
love
to
a
start
period
Vikings.
piece. That
Check
one
it
was
out.
great.
It's insane. It's really fun.
Yeah.
It's like, I forgot the exact premise, but all I know is
Anya
that
Taylor-Joy.
these enemies come to like this guy's town, and basically his entire people die, right? Or they get killed off, and he's like one of the last survivors.
For the Northman.
The Northman, isn't that what happens?
Well, his uncle, just a brief like intro, steals the kingdom
the
from his dad.
from his dad.
Ah.
Yeah,
And
you're
so
right.
it's about him and how like him growing up. I love when they do like a 20 years later, and then it's one of those.
Check it out.
But yeah, it's a
The
great movie.
Northman.
No,
I love
yeah,
it.
I
think you
definitely.
would
Robert
like
Eggers, I think, or was it Eggers?
But I don't really have like a. I don't know.
Roger.
But I could tell like one movie that was like when I think about it, I watch now and I'm like, this movie is so garbage, but it's awesome. Mars Attacks.
I love that one.
It's so like bad, and like when you think about it, like who
Yeah.
wrote this?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the story, I'm like thinking of this guy must have been on like LSD and like all
Killer
the drugs
Clowns.
in the
They
world
didn't
trying to
learn
write
their
this.
lesson 3 times. They didn't learn their lesson with that.
Bro, that movie
Like,
is
what are you talking about?
hilarious, bro.
That's a good one.
So
Yeah.
funny.
That's a good one.
That's how I feel about Killer Clowns from Outer Space. It's such a
Oh my
garbage
God,
movie, but I
terrible
love
movie.
it.
You
You know
love
what's
to hate
funny?
it.
I played the video game. The video game is terrible too.
Oh, the new one?
Oh
Yeah.
my
Oh,
god.
I've seen people play
It's
it,
like
yeah.
So dumb.
Dead
but
by
I love
Daylight,
it.
right?
yes.
Yeah.
It's like one of those games where you have to like there's one guy and you have to get away.
Yeah.
But it's so whack because there's like 4 of them you have to get away
Yeah,
from.
yeah.
And they're clowns that shoot like electric lasers. It's
Yep.
like not scary. It's so
Well,
boring.
the gun,
worst game ever.
if I'm not mistaken, turns you into cotton candy.
Yes, yeah. Because
That sounds
I've
cool.
played the other 2. I played 2, the Jason one.
Right.
The one where
Yeah, yeah.
you're at the camp, the Camp Crystal Lake,
Yeah.
and you're running. That one's fun.
That one's
fun.
And then
First
I played
movie
the
is
second
epic.
one, which is the the Chainsaw Massacre. That
Right.
one's awesome. That's the best
Yeah.
one I played so far.
Oh, that's such a
And then-
disturbing movie, man.
That one's amazing though. It's so good. And then there's another one I want to try, but it's only on PC. Which is who's that one hidden monster that's never been seen? That
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot.
Oh,
The game looks cool.
depending on who you talk to.
Yeah.
Depending on who you talk to, some people is real. Which there's gonna be one of our episodes soon. No, I'm kidding.
Oh my god!
You guys saw that video like a couple
Bigfoot.
months back ago of him like supposedly in a field being seen?
I heard something about it that I think they were on a train or a freeway.
It looked
and they
kinda sus.
Record a field.
Bro, there was like an 8-foot dude in the field just walking.
Just
It was like
walking.
with a
Ever since
costume.
CGI was created. I don't know. It's kind of like
True.
I'm skeptical.
CGI and AI are wild.
We'll do an episode on conspiracy theories soon. Who knows?
Yeah, I remember you guys. saying
That's
that.
my forte right there.
I like
But for now, we're gonna, as the director said, we're gonna cut.
Yeah, let's get out of here.
Thank you so much for watching.
That's a wrap.
We appreciate all the support. This was a long episode. I know it is.
Yeah, for sure.
But we still appreciate the support. We still appreciate you hanging around. Please like, subscribe, share this video wherever you can so we can connect with more people and talk with more people.
Yep.
And if you're one of our awesome, lovely audio listeners, we see you, we love you, and we thank you for supporting us. Please give us that 5-star rating if you can. It really helps reach the podcast, reach more places. And don't forget the link below for the gala. Our 10-year anniversary celebration fundraiser is going to be happening soon here on South Florida Wellness Network. So please click on the link below so you can get all that information. Please plug your film.
Yeah, check out "She'll Come Back" by the Gill Brothers coming
She'll
out.
come back.
She'll Come Back. It's a horror short, so I'm
so
sure you'll
in.
love it.
I'm
yeah.
gonna be-
Is it out yet, or is it?
No, so
Okay.
they're currently fundraising for it, and then hopefully by
Is there any way
October-
they could help?
Get a
if
Kickstarter?
anyone sees
Yeah,
it?
well,
Okay.
it's a what's the seed and they're gonna kill me. We'll put a link in the bio.
Okay, yeah, we'll put a link in the bio, and
Seed, yes.
you guys can support that film. Obviously, I'm all for supporting up and coming people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
please, if you can, support that film. And I expect an invitation to the.
Yes.
Thank you. No, this episode's not coming out. No, I'm kidding. Thank you for watching.
That reminded me of the Office Space. Yes.
Yes. We love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys next week. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.